Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Madden podcast. I'm Max, your host, and I'm here with the amazing, wonderful, inimitable, one and only Roxanne. Hi, Roxy.
Hey, darling, how are you?
I'm great, and you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much. My sound is okay. Let me make sure my mic is close enough.
Yeah,
my mic sound nice. Check one. Check one.
Yeah, it works great.
Good. So let's rock and roll with today's Madden God episode.
Yeah,
what do you got in mind?
Today, the inspiration comes from a author, a writer, Frank Herbert, Dune, to be more precise, or the 7 books of his epic science fiction writing that starts with Dune. Dune is the first book, and it's the one that is the most known. Also because we have had a couple of movies, and also there was on Sci-Fi a series that they did with based on a couple, 2 or 3 of his books. So that it's out there. It's very well known, and it's considered one of the best science fiction writers.
I love it. I'm on book 6, Chapter House.
Oh yeah,
I've read
I love
outstanding
all of them.
books.
Yeah, and Chapter House is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
but it's always hard to me to say which one of my favorite. I love all of them. So doesn't matter. And as I was saying to you just before, for those that are unaware or do not know Dune, it's obviously I recommend reading Frank Herbert's Dune, because it's besides the fact of being a science fiction book, it's more than that. It's one of those works of art that you can feel, you can see, it vibrationally speaks volumes of quality, not only in the writing, but in the conveying a universe that is channeled.
Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely. And just to give an idea of what this universe is, the first book is about a young man that with his family has to relocate in a other planet. And this other planet is the planet Dune, Arrakis, which is a planet where desert is the main thing, right? Earth, it's water. There is the sand of the desert. And so it's a very hard planet where survival is very difficult, especially if you're not from there. And but what is very, very important in this planet is that the planet is the only source in the universe of a spice, and this spice is used to prolong human life. Those that are using it have a longer life, so obviously it becomes very, very, very precious. And with, I think, a handful of spice, you can easily buy a planet, and maybe 2. So it's that precious, and it takes really little assumption every day of this spice to have a longer life. So they are relocated there, and as they are there, his father is killed, and he is lost with his mother in the desert, where they are taken in by a tribe of Fremen. And this simple thing then is going to lead into a jihad. So the universe, the known universe, is completely changed from there on, with the vengeance that this young boy with his mother lead against those that have killed his father. And by doing that, they then conquer the empire, the human empire, and there is a jihad. 61 billion, it says in book 2, or in the second book, it says 61 billion humans have been wiped away by this jihad in all the thousands of planets that the human empire has, right? So it's a huge thing. And this is the beginning. And then the books goes on, right? This is just to introduce you in the Dune universe. I'm not going too much into details.
Yeah,
but
we would need a few more shows to cover the Dune books.
Exactly. But here, what I've been inspired as I was listening to the books again is that I perceive that the ability that this young boy has, right, despite his prolonging human life, on this young man, despite has a different effect. The spice makes him able to navigate in timelines, so he can see time. So the future becomes like an oracle.
Prescient.
Yes, and with that, he's obviously able to navigate his reality to get to the now that he wants to experience. And he knows exactly how people act, how people, right, what they're going to say, and all of that. So he can use that as an advantage over everyone else. But what I realize is that as is a lot of these stories are around this ability to predict the futures, right, the oracle and all of that. A lot of what transpires is that they are a lot living in their memory. The memory is leading them. And by using the memory so much in predicting the future, then there's like a prison that he's creating for himself, where the future that he's able to perceive, so the option, the choices that he's able to perceive, they are always linked to the memory. So that there is a vast, many timelines, options, choices that could be available, but they are not perceived. Because even though it's another universe or another version of reality, these are humans. So they also have, is a story of creators. Like we are, they are creators too. So they are experiencing reality and creating reality. They are creators, right? And that gives me, right, an idea of seeing how much the past is used to create the now. How that influences, and more than influences, when you when you are so much linked in the past, that is also what? The now.
Yes.
So that what is created, right? We have already talked about that. But I felt that is really a great example of this, because then you can see what the events are in this universe of Dune. How when you read it, you have a sense of saying, why don't you try something else? Why do you get just along with the jihad? In the sense of, I cannot change that. I'm prisoner of the jihad. And it's like, you feel like saying, no, you cannot be prisoner or something. You have other choices. But then you also realize, no, he doesn't have other choices, because he is in a prison. And that prison, you say, his prison is the future. No, the future cannot be the prison. There's no future. There's the now. So it's the time and the relationship that with time, then you change that and you see, well, there's another way of being into a prison, and that way is to relate to the past so much that the past becomes the now. And so what then is available as a choice is linked to the past. And so the other choices then fade away.
They go unseen, unaware of them.
Unaware. And you can see that with also, when you compare the ability of the young Paul Muad'Dib, Paul Atreides, which is we're going to say the hero. He's not a hero, but in the first book, you have the impression that he is the hero of the story. Then there's his son, and his son has the same abilities, but you can feel that the son has better abilities. But you also see that the son is also prisoner of the past. But the son is perceiving more of the choices and the possibilities. And still, you feel the prison there. You see that there is this past that is still so heavily present.
Let's look at something. Let's look at the seduction of the future to the human. Because if we can read into the future, then we can maybe either make more money or prevent a tragedy. See, that's the fascination with the future. But the future is not a place. It doesn't exist. Only the now exists. The perception of each universe creating its own reality has the advantage of a creator that may claim there is a future and experience that future and experience that past, all while living in the present, because there's no other place.
Yes.
So I see the fascination with the future, and I see where people would want to understand the future and understand how to base, if they're living in time, remember, because there are places that don't have time, that don't value time, that don't value that. That's a different experience. There is no standard in the universe. Time doesn't exist everywhere. So I understand that. But if you have time, and you are, and if let's look at this. Let's look at, we live in the third density. We live in a space-time continuum. We have space to walk around in horizontally. We can go vertically using a helicopter or stairs. But we can move through this space we've created and experience of space. And now we also have time, because we have seasons and we have aging, all of this part of the experience. But the only way you can experience time is if you have a memory. Because if you don't have a memory, like a fish, it's always today. It's always right now. It's always hungry. It always follows itself, not in memory. It's what it is the moment. It applies all its things in the moment and lives a life. So in this idea, when you look at the vastness of humanity and the vastness of this world that happens in the future of humanity, which I don't think it was a future humanity. I think it was a parallel reality for me. So the Dune reality is a life of a parallel reality that shied away where the divergence was, I don't know, but shied away from the technology and moved its way into. I love Dune in the chaos that it is. You know, it's fantastic chaos, but it still works. Everything works. But anyways, so we have abilities to use our memories, but the memory has been moved into a role or a position of need because it offers an exceptional idea of best case scenario going into the future, best choice, what to do, what not to do. So we're trying to predict the future, just like the idea of stock markets, Warren Buffett's. Where's the money going to go? Where's the money today? And they call it. And Warren Buffett's not looking into the future. He's creating a reality. Whether he knows it or not is irrelevant. That's his worthiness, and so he can create this idea. He's worth to have that knack or whatever. But that's his individual journey. But the memory has become this standardization of prevention, best case scenario, and action needed in order to accomplish something in the future. When if you journeyed in the now, you would see, of course, there's never a future. There can't be a future because it's always here and now. The perception of the future can come from one place only. In order to have a future, you must unequivocally have a memory. Essentially, you must have a memory because the memory is what bases the possibilities of a future. Without your memory, you couldn't build the scene. You couldn't build the future planet that you're looking at because that exists in your memory. You couldn't build the technologies that they have. You couldn't build the people and what they would possibly wear and how they would possibly act unless you had the experience within you in order to build that future, non-happening now, future that's actually happening now in your reality that you're creating. It's not playing out like that. It's happening to you. Are there parallel realities that are happening? Of course. And Frank fucking tapped into them. And you can tap into them. And you can do whatever the hell you want with them. But we're not talking about that vibration. We're talking about the idea of how these people created their futures off of their past and their outcomes, their stats, their predictabilities. That's how humans run today. The past creates the future. Oh, this happened, so we need to do this. So let's look at just real quick, let's look at all the tragedies of the world. Let's look at them all together. Let's look at all the building collapses. Let's look at all the building fires with all the people that died in the MGM in Vegas and all the people that died over in Russia with the housing they building with no water sprinklers, no fire alarms, and flammable materials, and they torched thousands and thousands of humans since the industrial age. And you remember all the workers in New York and all those people with the garments everywhere, and they locked the doors, just the atrocities, because we got to make the almighty daughter. I'm going to suck the cock of God, the money god. Look at me, I'm the best. And that gluttony just absolutely gave no value to humanity. Fuck them, they're sheep. And then we learned. See, our past creates our future. Because we learn from the past, we take changes, and those changes go into the future. They don't create our future. They go into the future with us. We claim it's a future, but it's not a future. We're bringing it along. So we start experiencing these disasters. What happened to the EPA was created because everyone says, fuck it. I don't want to pay for to put this. I'm going to dump it in the water. And then the water, and then the fish start dying. Uh-oh, we have to prevent that. So that past prevents and creates bringing through a future. fantastic work to see how we've evolved off of our past. So that model, of course, goes into humanity's future because that's the only way they know how to live. So Frank tapped into a world that continued that idea of using the past. So let's say the Bene Gesserits, right? Look how much they use the past, but they don't use the memory past. They use the gestalt of all the witches.
Yes.
And that is a
The
vast
collective.
Yeah, that's a collective. Now, that information is not invaluable. It's masterful. It's absolutely usable. See, it's not wrong or right that you're using the past to create your illusion of the future. What you're doing is creating your now experience, bringing those things into your futures. That's not wrong. You just have to look at it what it is. And see, they evolved the memory by using the gestalt of the witches. And they start pulling off of that. And they continued that for 4,000 years, just all the way into the future, kept on going. And that's just from when we're talking about Leto II. You know, of course, the witches were way before that too, but we're just talking in the book sense on how long they continued the discipleship of the sisters, you know, and they used their past to create, here's what we should do. Here's how we maintain. Here's how we train. Here's what's expected. And they base all of that off of the experience. That's the masterful idea of a space-time continuum. Because we learn from our past. Not for better or for worse.
No, exactly.
But what you said, Max, it limits if you use only the past memory through a certain degree of relationship. That relationship will determine A, the memory that you are able to create, and B, the possibilities out of that memories will going forward.
And that is one of the differences, is that the Bene Gesserit are aware of the limitations. They know there are limitations. They know that when you choose a certain posture, a certain when you have a plan, the plan in itself is already limitation, right? They are aware of all of these things, and so they are able to bring that into the way they act, they decide, and they move forward.
See, can you imagine me only using my memory? I don't use my human memory. How fucking limited is that? I tap into the gestalt of Roxanne and everyone that I'm available to, that I am capable of tuning into and pulling that information out of that vibrational idea. And the sisters were humble enough in this idea to use other sisters' experience and see their own limitations in their action going forward. That's why it remained, because it changed. See, if it remained the same, it would have collapsed.
Yes.
Because change is what's constant. And so the sisters changed. There was a lot of things that they kept for thousands of years, but they did make the changes to keep adjusting the sisterhood as it evolved. And they used that because they were humble enough to see their own ego get in the way and use the resource available to them to give them clarity about how to take their now into the future, not to set up or prevent the future. See, that's what Paul did. Paul went into the timelines and he predicted. That's
predicted.
Different.
And it's interesting then to look into that ability and realizing and knowing and being able to know that what he was seeing, it was not a prediction of what could be. If I take this action, then this action maybe, or that action, and then after that there is that. And that. He was seeing nows. He was not seeing the future. He was seeing the now.
Right.
Right?
He was
all
seeing
the
now
available.
Available. All the nows available.
Yeah.
So let's ponder that. What was he wanting to? Well, go ahead. What?
The ones that he could see, obviously, not all.
Oh, yes.
Those
yes,
that he
yes.
could see, right?
Yes. What he was available to match to so we can able to see it. Because there's many things that we cannot see that are going on in the now. that are in quote futures, in quote past, but they're nows.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you can't match all of them. So anyways, I was, what was Paul's biggest fear about humanity? What was the golden path? The golden path was to prevent what?
The destruction, disappearance of
Destruction of humanity. So he took and did things, although he couldn't do it as his son did. He took things to prevent humanity's destruction because he saw the finite in it. He saw the finishing of it. So he did actions that he pulled from his future to change the path of humanity in the now by presenting that, which is actually all happening now.
Exactly. So then the question is, was he then creating that or preventing it?
See, that's his world. And the people that go along with him. See, every world, it doesn't matter. It's all happening. That's the fantastic thing about creation. There's not the right world or the wrong world or the best world. It's all worlds happening. It's endless, nonstop fucking chaos of life. We're trying to manage it, control it, standardize it, keep it sane. There's nothing to keep. That literally, all that effort to control and keep and do all is creating the world. So the chaos is only yours.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. And the other thing that we are, you have already touched on it, but the other thing that is masterful with these books, with the story, is that Frank Herbert's. We have to remember that he is related to the 60s. So this was written in the 60s. So it's a different era, right? Different vibration to what we carry right now. But he is describing at the best of his abilities and also at the best of our understanding a collective, a human collective. With the Bene Gesserit, but not only them. There are other collectives that are there, but this idea of a collective being there, and every individuality, member of the collective, acting as an individuality, but also as the collective, where they know exactly what they are doing and what the effect is on the collective. How far can I go in my actions that are where I am engaging myself, but as I engage myself in these actions, I'm engaging the collective. Because I perfectly know that the collective is going to follow me in what I'm acting. So as I'm acting, I have the awareness of the collective. The collective is there. And the Bene Gesserit is absolutely that. It acts in that way. Every member of the Bene Gesserit is so masterful as a singularity in their abilities that they have been studying and training in, and all of that, right? They have that strength of being able to bring that out of the human, right? The abilities of the human are so pushed into a new dimension of cans. And then, though, when they are out on a mission or on another planet for whatever mission they have, whatever they have to accomplish, you see that they may be alone, but you can perceive that strength coming from a collective, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not really alone. They are not alone.
There's a presence of the singularity with a million behind them.
Yeah.
They have that tapped in, especially, in Reverend mothers, because they can go back. Although, of course, they only stay within the females on that. And that's what the gift of Paul was. Paul had access to all of it. Yeah, all of it, both. In this case, he had both, but he had access to all of it. And so that what made him a threat, where they were wanting him, but not so soon. Jessica Jessica didn't quite do it what she was supposed to do. But anyways, I love her for it. So it gave us this whole timeline. It gave us this whole reality, So if you look at, apply this to your life. Look at how your memory shapes your reality. I did a video on my YouTube channel about pressure, and I equated it to obligation and responsibility. And obligation that is unfulfilled leads to guilt and remorse, sorrow, something of that nature. Responsibility leads to failure or letdown of another. These are things to be avoided because of the feeling you get. Now, it doesn't feel good to be a failure. Emotionally, we're talking. Now, remember, this is experience for the masters out there to understand that everything down here is experience. It's not actually the fact of it. It is that it is the experience of the human journey. But in the commonality of humanity, they use these ideas of pressures to shape their realities, which is their choices, the direction they're going to go home, to avoid traffic, what to eat, what not to eat. All of these come out of the memory. They don't create your future. They create your nows. You take those into your future by dragging them with you in the now. So now if you really look at it, look at how much of your memory you're bringing with you. Every day you're bringing your memory with you. Those are your belief systems that you value. You've learned, they're stored, and you use them, stored in your memory, and you use them to make choices. See, Paul looked into the future, and what he saw changed his choices on how to direct humanity into this golden path to allow them to continue, because he saw the end of humanity, I'm supposing, for his golden path to prevent that. So he took his actions in the now based off his future, but all of his future was pulled up, and ability to perceive the future was through memories, was through his memories. So the memory shapes your future. So what do you have as an alternate? What is another choice? Something that, tying it into what you had said, the skill set that the witches did, what they created, the pushing humanity to its limits, and then beyond, and creating a new way to experience as a human. This is a canvas waiting to be painted. The human abilities are monumental. We keep stunned at the abilities of things. As soon as someone broke the 4-minute mile, everyone's doing it. See, we have these perceptions of the past that create and limit ourselves. But they show there's a possibility to stretch the human. So we bring ourselves, what is not used, as something that can be developed, something you have access to, something that is a vibrational resonance with the inner self of the constant truth of your existence. Your existence is a standard. It's a constant I am. You know yourself. When you come down here, you're playing a fucking role. You're playing a goddamn role. You jump into a meat suit. You take on a name, and you don't remember anything. You create a personality for experience, but there's still a self. There's still a self. And that self speaks a volume a very loud volume of truths. And if you grab those truths, then you'll find that through your intuition. You'll feel that, something's telling me I need to do this. You start choosing that person, that little flutter butterfly, not too certain feeling, as opposed to the fear of your mind going buck, 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 buck. You need to, you respond to, you recognize that vibration. It's an environment. You can feel the quality of the memory pressures, of the responsibilities, of the obligations, and how you behave. But this, masters, this intuition is connected to the gestalt of you, the I am of you. And it will never steer you wrong, because there's no wrong in the universe. There's no right in the universe. There's only creation happening, experiential. It's just the interpretation that give you right and wrong. And that's children's play. That's the human. That's polarity. We're way beyond that. So you can develop that skill set by just engaging in it and understanding it. And the only way you engage in it is you start to become aware of the now, observe the now, don't react to the now, and get better at feeling reality come alive in you, speaking it. We are so brick and mortar and externalized. We think everything around us is what's happening, and we have to abide by that. That's the absolute opposite. That's the separated self. What you have to do is knowing that you're creating the relationship to that which creates the experience of the fractal. If you stop using the outsides as standards and start using the inside self, then you will first eradicate all your bullshit, which is going to be a painful process.
Yes,
it's going to be a painful process. You might as well, this is one of my classics, take barbed wire, run it through your nose, tie it to the ass of a water buffalo, and slap it and let it pull you across the Serengeti Desert for about a day. That's how painful this fucking ride is when you start to transcend your emotional identity. You go through both sides. But anyways, so that's that. But this is the abilities. See, that intuition you can dive into and feel your way through reality. You start to navigate your way through reality. See, that's what the sisters did, is they used their intuition about these other ideas, and instead of being reactive towards this sister's experience, when the memories are passed on into a Reverend Mother, then all the Reverend Mothers have access to that self, access to those voices, access to those worlds. And that is a gestalt of a library of information. My God. And it's not have to be read. You don't have to read it all. You don't have to learn it all. You just listen because it's always there. That's the skill set of intuition. It tells you, it attracts to you the wisdom of the now that is applicable to the moment, not to the future, not to the past, to the moment. So I always have everything I need, every bit of knowledge, every understanding right fucking now. Not tomorrow, not in 2 seconds, now, and then now, and then now, and then now. So I've learned to live in the now, and my life is seamless. It doesn't have a future. It doesn't have a past. Although I use the past because it's a tool. Mm-hmm. I understand that's part of my reality to use these things. They're part of my work set. I can use my memory. I can use the ancestors of humanity's memory. I can use the memory of my social memory complex, the Gestalt God that I am memory, and access all these things. But I don't do it through intention. No. Because I have no need. If I don't have need, I don't have intention. Yeah. Because I don't need the lack of something in the now in order to need. So what I have is intuition. What I have is attraction. Because I am a creator, and so I always have it. Yes. Just like I have the air conditioning that came on, and we're 85 degrees in San Antonio, Texas on February 22nd. Come on up north, move on down. Yeah,
but right in the now, you have everything. You are everything. And the relationship with the past, right, it is in the way you use it. It is how you relate to it.
Very good.
right? There are people, right? And the example that I have is, I relate to the example of my father. My father has been living for all of my life in the past. But he has not lived in the past as I'm learning from it or I'm using it to shape a future where I'm better, right? To evolution. He has shaped all his life around the past as a victim. And he has kept that all along.
Absolutely. He brings that into his now, which creates his futures. Because then his future, he goes, it's the same thing. I'm still a victim because he brings it with him.
Yes. And I can say that has cost him his son. It's not working. And it's not, we're not a match, right? We're not matching that. So, and I'm not saying that as a consequence or right.
Yeah, let's not say that as anything. Yeah, like very good, because it didn't cost him anything.
Yeah.
Only you can see you as a loss. He's in his own world.
He's in his own world. Yeah. And I can see right. I've been observing him, and I've been seeing how that has been draining him, right, keeping him and imprisoning him, and it was like, right, there were moments where he was witnessing my suffering, my pain, my being victimized, let's say, in those moments, and all he could say or react was to tell me I suffered, right? He was only seeing his suffering through my suffering.
Because you were the cause of his suffering.
Yeah.
So that made you feel a certain way. And I bet that feeling in the memory of that shaped your reality because you made choices off of that.
Yes.
A lot of it.
Exactly. Yes.
And then you hated yourself for it.
Yeah.
And then we learned.
And we learned, yeah.
And we learned.
But that is paramount to understand, that we are able to see that and learn from that. And that is what the Bene Gesserit does, because the Bene Gesserit from the beginning is not the Bene Gesserit that you are having in the book you're reading, right?
Chapter House, they're different.
They're different. And the way they have evolved, the abilities that they have, I mean, the base is the same. Right? You say it's the same. No. They are able to navigate their nows in such a way that the ability to gather informations, to elaborate information, to take decisions based on the information that they are able to have in the now, using what is in the now, but also what they have in their gestalt, is so evolved.
And they created that. They created an entire breeding program for thousands of years to cross and match, to bring these traits out of people. They tried to breed away the Atreides trait. Can't do that.
No.
The damn Atreides. Is that how you say it, Atreides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Because you said Gesserit, and I was like Gesserit. So I guess it is Gesserit. But I don't know. I don't know what the audiobook says, but I always read it as Gesserit.
I think Gesserit.
Instead of G.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, so
it depends
the Atreides
on the accent you have.
I guess, right. The Atreides timeline, the Atreides lineage from Siona and Duncan and all of these all the way past, these were that trait, and they wanted to breed out that trait because that's a behavior. That's in the lineage. I love this. It's fantastic to explore the possibilities of creation. See, when you remove the idea that you're an actual victim on this planet, you remove the idea that you're less than, then you can start to see your schoolroom is your reality, and it's learning you just by the experience of you participating in any reality of the now. You just have to have a different awareness about it, a different approach about it, lose the purpose, lose the intent, lose the need, lose the want and the desire, so you can pound your chest and wear badges of honor saying, I have accomplished and I'm enough, when your goddamn existence speaks volumes of you being enough because you're here and now and you have never gone away. So you look at that, you change that insight, and then, holy shit, what you can see, what's available to you. Yes. Masterful. Go ahead.
Masterful. And what then happens with the Emperor God, right? The worm. When he dies, and you could say that's the end of the golden of the golden path. Well, not really, but no, it's the moment, a pivotal moment
because of the scattering.
Yes, the scattering. Yeah. But what is the scattering? What happens in that moment when he dies and there's the scattering? There's something that was not used up until that moment, and that is the unknown. The scattering is the unknown. It's going into the unknown.
Letting go of the control, the limitations, the governments, the emperor. Blew it all up, made everyone love him, and then blew that up to say, you're on your own.
Yes.
And look at the scat. Look at the possibilities that came out of this. Exactly. You got the honored matrix. You got the fucking, the other version of the witches. You know, the nasties.
The nasties. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
But you read that. So shut up. Don't go there. And that is right. That came, and as you were saying, what did the Emperor God do? He created a universe where everything was controlled. Every housing was the same all over the universe. Everything was. It
was forced peace.
Peace. Yes.
To show humanity they don't want peace. We don't want fucking peace. Because there's not chaos. Making peace work creates chaos. Duh.
Yes.
The first act of war is defense.
Yes.
Duh. Good Lord, he saw that. Give them peace. Make them what they want to see. I don't want this. They want the scattering. They want the ability to create and go on their own. Doesn't matter if it's chaotic. Doesn't matter if they're using all this poisons, and doesn't matter. This is the way they worked it out. That was the natural evolution of that, because creation created the fucking guy called the Emperor God, Leto II, the worm, created this guy to say, we're ready to change. And he did it. Paul didn't do it. Paul could have done it. He knew it, but he didn't want to do
it.
Paul is the original.
Was afraid. Yeah.
He was afraid. He was scared.
He was afraid. Yeah.
But Leto wasn't.
I mean, imagine 3,000 years. You do that, and you know that you have 3,000 years of transformation into a worm and into boredomhood, right? He was bored at some point because you're there at the center of the universe, controlling everything. But then it's that you can't die, really, right? You have to stay there because that you are doing is done as you are there. And until humanity is not ready to then explode into the scattering, you stay there. And you only know that humanity is ready is when you are dying. It's
when you're ready to go. Yeah. When you know your changes.
Yeah.
And he knew it was time. He knew his death was coming.
Yeah. But then it's understandable that, Paul was seeing that, and he got scared. Right?
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's why we had Leto II and his sister.
Yeah. and that didn't. But what you can see is also that the fact that Paul got scared and refused to do that, which gives the second book, actually, right? The second book is Paul destroying himself. He takes the path of that, right? Of that. But then you see that nevertheless, creation gives Leto II, and Leto does what his father was not ready to do.
Yeah, creation offered Leto II, his son. Through Channing.
So there are always the ways, right?
Always. Creation never fails. Creation is evolution itself. It's such constant change. It's always going to create something. There's always going to be a creator in creation that creates that next idea.
Yeah.
It's the evolution of the species. Look at humanity. For God's sakes, look how much we've evolved. Oh, sure, we have our children running the countries, and they're a big bunch of babies and cryberries, and they have guns, and they have nuclear weapons. Yes, we know that. But look at humanity itself. We have evolved. We're fascinated with technology, AI. These are just worlds to explore. They're not going to become impermanencies, and we're going to become this thing. That's all fears of the human. What we're doing is evolving. The species itself has evolved. We're more beautiful people. We have a variety of people on the planet now, and we're not afraid of each other anymore. That's the masterful idea, is to see what's available to us instead of what's different from us. Those are the children, masters that represent the authentic self, and allows them to express the internal intuition, allows others to be that within their kingdom, and then the world starts to collect those ideas and become the human collective that we are moving forward into, which we've done the whole time. But this is just the journey. It just gets better. That's all.
Yes.
I love that I'm in an age that way I have air conditioning. I really love that. But before, I would have never known there was air conditioning because it was never introduced. So I would have never liked it. But now that I have it, I was like, good age to come in. I've got the internet, I've got the world, I've got technology. This is fantastic. I'm going to play here. This is my playground. And if I was in another life in the 1500s, that was a fantastic playground because I got to play there. The two lives aren't comparable. What they are is essential of the building blocks of me going forward. Fantastic. Same with humanity.
Yes. I had a dream the other night where I found myself holding on a rope, and behind me I had like a waterfall or a fall anyway, right? And I remember a waterfall, something like that. And I was holding on this rope, and there was a knot on the rope that was helping me to hold it there. To grip it, right? And as I was there, I was up at the top. I could see there were people, but I was there. Oh gosh, I'm gonna fall, and there's only one knot to help me. And I was thinking, why haven't I done more knots so that I could have more grip and more stuff to support me and do stuff and for my feet so that I could, and I was holding there for a while. And then some point I was able to land on a rock or something that was just beside there on the snow. And I was just able for a couple of seconds to stay there, but I couldn't really have a grip, so I slipped back in the danger, and I was like, oh gosh, this is the end, but I'm gonna fall. And then as I stayed there like that and saying, oh, no one is helping, whatever. And long story short, then at some point I find myself on the top. Back, right? I'm able to go up and go back on the top on safety. And as I'm there, I say, someone help me, just bring me out, right? Help. But but even there, no need for help. I'm able to take myself on the ground and stay there. And it was quite right. I was there. It's impossible to do that. How have I done that? How was I able to go up and into safety? And then I realized, as I woke up, I realized, you see, that is, if you look into that, is like the experiences that we have. We are holding, like we're there, we're having an experience, and we are unable to, right? We feel like victims and unable to go anywhere with that, and it's going to be the end, and blah, 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 blah. Until then, actually, at the end of the experience, there we are. And everything that we were getting to, dramatizing and all the fears,
afraid of,
right?
Yeah.
It didn't play out.
There. Yeah.
It wasn't there. You got always on your ground, on the place that where you want to go.
Of course. Love it.
Yes. And I said, well, you see, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Right.
Great episode.
Yes. Thank you, Roxy.
Very good, guys. Go ahead.
I was going to say, where can we find you? And what are your news?
What is my news?
Yes.
You can find me at odysseyofascension.com. That's ODYSSEY of, like OF, Ascension, ASCENSION.com. There's YouTube and my website. And there's a book I have out called The Angelics. If you guys haven't listened, the first time listener maybe, that's available. You can get it on Amazon. I just got another review, a fantastic review. They love the book, and I'm very excited that the book is moving people in the way that it moved me when I wrote it. So that's really good. So that's available on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and the links are on my homepage of my website. And I have a workshop coming up that's also on the website. It says upcoming workshop. It's in April. If you'd like to come and enjoy Roxanne's teachings and some of the other stuff with some other people that are vibrating in the same reality. So you can hook up with us and come down. And if you have any questions, please email me. All the information is there on how to contact me, and it'll be there. And Max, where can they find you?
You can find me on breakfastwithmax.com, my website, and YouTube, Breakfast with Max. Yes, so thank you for listening, joining in.
Yep.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Roxy.
Thank you, Max. And let me thank the audience for tuning in. And we'll see you around the galaxies. Thanks, Max.
Bye-bye.
Bye, boy.